I didn't really worry about relationships.
Oh, man, I wish I had done that. Oh, no.
That rage is just pain. I'm not that wise, really.
You are. We're the judge of who we think is wise, and we think Today's guest is an absolute angel. She's crazy talented. She has a new short film called Help, Everything's Fine.
That was such a good reading of that. You should have been in the film. She's also playing Lady Jane in Artful, found on Disney+.
She is a passionate animal rights activist.
And she's just finished filming Forever Young, Susie Porter. I hadn't met you before, and I think the way we met was quite serendipitous, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I met you at is it Gabby Bernstein or Bernstein?
I say Bernstein.
Okay.
But could be tomato. You know?
Yeah, a Gabby Bernstein event. Or maybe for our crackheads, you could explain who Gabby Bernstein is.
Yeah, look, I have been a fan of Gabby Bernstein for many years, and I suppose she's like a life coach, but she has a real spiritual slant to it. Not religious, but a spiritual slant to her. I don't want to say self-help because that has a lot of negative connotations, but she's written so many books and are kind of believing in that the universe has your back, and meditation and affirmations and prayers to the universe and things like that. I have her app. And so I go on every morning and you pick a card and it has the thought for the day, and then she will have like a couple of minutes that you listen to. Other times you can do like a 21-day kind of abundance challenge or any kind of blocks that you have. I've just finished the money one, which is all about re-looking at your old ideas about money to kind of let the streams of income into your life.
Oh, I do love that. Maybe I should do that.
You totally should.
I think it's great. I mean, I've read her book, The Universe Has Your Back. It
Yes.
helped me through a bit of a tricky time, which I appreciate that she does. But I didn't know that she does challenges. What's like an abundance challenge? Like, what's an example of that?
Abundance challenge, again, is just about, you know, your old held beliefs about certain things that we don't even know that we have. Resentment towards people and things, and she talks a lot about forgiveness. And I suppose she does talk a lot. Abraham Hicks is another thing that I get the emails every day, which is obviously, I suppose it's all along, you know, law of attraction.
Yes.
And it's not really about magical thinking. It's just about clearing the pathways for that abundance and things to materialize in your life.
Being in the vortex.
That's it, the vortex.
That's what she says. You have to be in the vortex. I used to listen to her morning mantra or manifestation. Have you listened to that one?
Oh, like the meditation.
Yeah. Esther Hicks does one in the morning that you can listen to on YouTube. And I would listen to it every day in LA because my acting coach at the time, Leslie Kahn, I was down in the dumps and she said, listen to this every day. And it's like, today is a great day. And it just keeps going on like that. And it really amped me up for the rest of the day and set up my day beautifully.
And I think it's like they always say, and Gabby says this, like, look for the better thought. So even if it's about having more joy in your everyday or not letting your fears, because our mind does a number on us, I think.
Yes.
As humans, you know, and no one teaches this stuff at school, that maybe that voice is not right. Maybe that voice has been influenced by your caregivers, your school, your friends, your peer group. So it's just about having more joy in the day and not worrying so much. And I think that's what I love about The Universe Has Your Back, that you can, of course we get worried. Our normal state is probably that fight or flight where you're like, oh, but to then pick a different thought to go, what if the universe does have my back, and what if it all kind of works out okay?
Yeah.
It just makes you feel better. So I kind of do it to have more joy in my day, regardless of, you know, a fast car. Or a mansion. You know, it's about the moments for me.
Well, it's interesting because even neuroscience backs up that completely. It says if you, at the end of the day, say 3 things you're grateful for, your brain actually rewires to start looking for the things that bring you joy that you're grateful for. So I think like, manifestation, affirmations, gratitude, all of those things actually do rewire your brain, make you feel more joy, make you feel more peaceful. And I think like, in a world that's like hustle, everyone's busy, everyone's stressed and anxious, like I think that's what we all need more of.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's great that I didn't know she had an app either. Jeez, I'm like, I remember I went into Gabby Bernstein rabbit hole for a bit, and then it helped me during that period. And then once I sort of got out of it, I didn't follow up on the things. But it's great you guys are doing it. So you do that affirmations and meditations every single day, and that's how you start your day?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And I used to read the paper. Like I'd do a few affirmations, then read the paper for like an hour online. And then I just realized actually I'm going to just shift this and I'll do my affirmations with her and my meditation, but then pick up a book instead of reading about the news. Because they often say like attracts like. So if you have a thought that's a magnet, there'll be more things attracted to that. So I suppose that's how gratitude, and I do a gratitude list every day as well, that really changes your view of how you see the world. And they say when your view of how you see the world changes, the world changes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and that's a real Marianne Williamson set. Marianne Williamson, who's another, I suppose, spiritual teacher, who talks about like a miracle is just a change in perception.
That's cool.
So it's just a perception of how you see things. Hence why I sort of thought, well, I don't want to be too focused on the news because they never kind of really publish stories that are incredible. I mean, sometimes they do, science and whatever, but all the incredible things in the world, they don't. It's just so I've just kind of got off that. And there's all this idea of, but I need to know what's going on and will I look like a stupid actor if I don't. And I just thought it doesn't even matter. Like, of course I come across the news. We do, but I don't have to check the news apps, which I got rid of to do that because, I have 5 minutes free. I used to be like, oh, well, I'll get on that news app and see what's happening.
I guess even like news aside, those practices I imagine would have really helped you with your career. I'm just curious to know, like, have you had these practices from early on in your career and they helped you out, or what's your journey so far been like?
Yeah, I think like probably earlier on I wasn't as I didn't think they were as necessary, and as I've got on I realized that just how they really, really help me and my mental health. But I think as a career, I mean, it's difficult being a freelancer and it can be difficult being an actor. And I think they're the tools that, when you're out of work, they just help me have the balance and just also a healthier life, like exercise and good food and not drinking. And I think they're very important for that. So it's been a sort of slow process. I think when I got out of NIDA, I was like, of course, the hustle, like there's always that I'm going to be left behind. Am I left behind? Everyone else seems to be working. It's all of that stuff that I've kind of understood the spiritual principles is the less I grasp and the less I do, the more comes to me.
I love that. Can you expand a bit more on that? Because we were actually talking just this morning about how a whole bunch of our actor friends at the moment aren't working and everyone seems to be in a slump. And we've seen two sides, like some people are hustling, I've got to do this, I've got to go do it. And then some people are going, it will be what will be and I've just got to find my peace. So can you talk about like what age you think you sort of figured it out to be a bit more peaceful about that and how that sort of materialized, I guess?
Yeah, look, I think in my early 30s, I moved to London. I had a relationship breakdown. Friends of mine had moved to London. I thought, oh, well, look, I'll do that. I'll go and live in London. And I was kind of maybe naive to the fact, I thought, oh, this will be fine. I'll be like on the West End in a couple of months. And it's like cut to, I did every job under the sun, swept floors, sold shirts, ironed shirts, made jewellery, worked in call centres. And I just did not go with the flow. I was like, could not accept it. So to me, the way I look at it, it's like just swimming up the river. But I wasn't meant to know this until now. So I think that a lot of things are experiential, that you have to experience it yourself. And I think your 30s is a very difficult time. I think it's especially for female, time running out. What do I do? Procreate, career, husband. It's the whirlwind of that. So I think it's a particularly difficult decade. I remember being in Primrose Hill. I was making jewelry and then I was kind of slow. So they said, do you mind just doing odd jobs like do the mail?
That's so cute.
Yeah, do the mail, sweep the floor and go through and get the gold dust out of the dirt and sort of collect all the gold, which I thought was a great metaphor for my life at that time. And I remember being at the top of Primrose Hill and I was just so angry with the universe and it was raining and I was just like, what? I don't know what to do, and sort of cursing at the universe. And I remember like I slipped over and rolled halfway down the hill, and it was just kind of a sign for me of that kind of like to laugh at myself and go, maybe this forcing isn't working. So I kind of learned the hard way, like I have with all my lessons, is that maybe forcing the locked door is not going to do anything other than hurt my hands and my elbow and my shoulder and get me frustrated. So that metaphorically, I suppose, it's just that thing of learning. It's just through time and through mistakes and through pain. And they often say pain is the touchstone for spiritual growth. And I really think it is, even though I'd love to go through life and not have any pain and have happy thoughts all the time, it's just not always like that.
Yeah. I just, as you were telling us that story, it made me think of the short film that you're in, Help, Everything's Fine.
Brilliant.
Because the actor Sean Keenan, that's his name, right? He tries to cheat something. I don't want to give the film away. What drew you to that script? I found that it's the only film I've ever seen talk about those subjects in the way that it spoke about them. I was drawn in from the start. I was crying but laughing at the same time, and I think it's something that society definitely needs to see at the moment.
Yeah, look, I think that the more you learn, like I love dark humor and I've always been attracted to that because I actually think that we can laugh at ourselves a little more, even though it's a really serious subject. And I think that I got an email from Sean. Obviously, he's a friend and I've worked with him before and really love him. And he emailed me and said, do you want to do this? And then I read it and I just burst out laughing. And I was just like, of course. And then Isaac Brown, who wrote and directed, I think everyone did such a great job on that short film. So they're the things that attract me. The people involved and the script are always the most important things. And also the building of relationships with people, the experience building relationships and the script for me.
Short films are so important to the industry. It's something that I have never done a short film before.
Haven't you?
No, I haven't. And I love them. And I think we were talking to Trav, Jeffrey, and you've worked on a short with him before. Have you?
I've worked with him a number of times.
Ooh,
I've
how
worked
many
with him.
times?
We actually did a low budget feature last year.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, called Forever Young, which was written and directed by Josh Mullins and Ulysses Oliver. So the two of those guys wrote and then both of them directed it. And I'm not quite sure how it really came to me. Maybe Trav. I can't remember when I first worked with Trav. Oh, on his short film Dusty, I played the mum on the phone. I think it's a really good thing to always, support those smaller things, help your friends get things up in a creative way. I think that that's also a really enjoyable thing rather than always thinking of money.
Trav did actually send in a question. I haven't told you this.
No,
did he?
Because I did tell him that Susie Porter was coming on the show, and his question was, how are you so amazing?
Oh my God.
He's such a sweetheart.
He is, I think as well, because Jeremy Lindsay Taylor, who is also his friend, actor, collaborator, and I know, beautiful Jeremy. So it's like they did a short film and I was in that this year as well, like a scene throughout it. I don't know, maybe he thinks I'm amazing because I always say yes to those guys, but I would always say yes to those guys.
One thing that we ask everyone on the podcast is about a time where they feel like they've bottomed out, they feel quite low, and how they get through that. Are you able to share an experience?
Well, it was that London experience, I think, when I kind of packed up my toys and moved to London through a relationship breakup. And I sort of had, great expectations of where that could be, I suppose, sort of positive. And it felt like the universe had different plans. So I really struggled with work. As I said, I had to do lots of other different things to make money. I was very poor. I was living like in public housing and, it was always a real struggle and nothing would come, my way. And then I thought, because I left Australia and by then I'd been in England for a couple of years and I thought I've really stuffed up my career back home. For whatever reason, I thought, well, if I've been gone for a couple of years, that's it now. I won't get work. I just didn't want to come home. I was terrified of coming home a failure, which is just a mindset rather than the people, who love and care for you. They don't care about that. But it was really in my mind of how can I return? Am I just going to be stuck here sweeping floors and ironing shirts and answering phones and selling Davidoff cool water in like Heathrow airside, dressed in a sarong? There were some moments that you're like, oh my God. And I didn't know that I was to run into my future husband on a second meeting. I met him in Australia and then I ran into him in England. So it was my future husband that I was to meet. And I was to get back on a push bike. I was to learn how to read a map. I was to learn how to be independent. And I was learned to have some resilience. So that was what was kind of what taught me, rather than, I'm going over to be on the West End and then I'll be in movies and then they'll invite me to Hollywood and away it goes now. And that certainly did not happen. I was doing like off West End. I then auditioned for this show called Remote Area Nurse, and it was my girlfriend taped me and we sent it like a VHS, that's how long ago, like a VHS in like an express snail mail, but it was like fast snail mail.
Wow.
To come back to Australia, which you think, wow, nowadays it's just, you wouldn't even think of that. And I got the job and I came back to Australia, and that was kind of what the universe gave me. And then I was sort of like, maybe I should stay here. And then that helped. And then, I then started to get work again in Australia. But that was a time where I really thought that I had no career over there and I stuffed the career back here. But it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's that this too shall pass, or nothing lasts forever, and it doesn't. But I believed it with all my being. And I wasn't meditating then. I wasn't really into law of attraction then. That's been a sort of process over the years.
Yeah, this too shall pass. I love that saying. I remember after my brother passed away, I had this, it was only like a few days. I went to say goodbye to him in Ireland and then came back to Australia, and it had only been a few days since I got home, and everything just seemed pointless. And I remember it was like my body just couldn't hold it in anymore. And I went for a run and I just started crying, like wailing crying on Coogee Beach. And this woman came up to me. She was from Scout school. I was mothering Scout at the time. And she just gave me a card that said, "This too shall pass."
Oh.
And she said, "I know what you're going through and you just have to sit in it, but just know that it won't last forever." And they were some of the most comforting words I think I've ever heard. And it sounds like, Susie, you felt so stuck in that moment. I understand those moments. They feel like they're going to last forever, but this too shall pass. I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah, really, I think it works, because we can't cope with anything if we feel it's going to go on forever. But we can kind of get our head around, a 24-hour period, or just sort of slowly walking through a couple of months or years or whatever. But it's amazing how our mind goes to, this is how it's going to be forever.
Yeah.
And yet it really never is. And it's always to remember that when you go through those difficult times.
I did read about how you met your husband, and I loved the story because there were so many years apart, and you touched on it before when you said you met in London and you had some crazy jobs like working in a smoothie bar. And I read that kind of had something to do with how you met your husband, and I thought Sam would like the story. So if you feel comfortable sharing.
Of course.
I just thought it was such another serendipitous meeting. It seemed like you guys were like magnets.
Yeah, it did seem like that. And that's another example of I was never worried about relationships in my life. My worries have always been career. So it's always been about letting go. With a relationship, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And they've always seemed to flow in and out, So I think that's a kind of lesson that I can see in hindsight. But I was working in a juice bar. I had done my first year out of drama school was amazing. I did Paradise Road. I was doing all these jobs. I then did a film called Welcome to Woodward, which was Stephen Elliott's follow-up from Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. So it was so exciting, and playing this sort of desert nymph, and it was outrageous. Yeah, it was so much fun. I still have friends today who I met on that job. And at the time, it just didn't go well. Critics hated it. No one saw it. I was at the midnight screening of Cannes. No one clapped. It was just what? Yeah, it was quite dark. No one really got it. And I remember Stephen Elliott saying to me, don't worry, it'll be a cult film in 10 years. But I remember feeling sort of acute disappointment and shock that, oh, right, so some things don't work out in life. Anyway, long story short, I had to get a job because after Welcome to Woodward came out, I could not get a job. So I got a job it was called Sloane Rangers, making frappes and waitressing. And I met Chris there, my husband. And we had a few dates, but nothing ever eventuated. He was seeing someone else. So it was always above board. And then he left there. And then when I moved to London years later, I ran into him in an obscure sort of back street in London.
You just bumped into him. You just bumped into him.
Yeah.
Magnets.
I love stories like this. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I bumped into him, and then we kind of were friends, and then we lost contact again. And then years later, he contacted me and we were always friends. And then when his mother emigrated, his mum and his stepdad emigrated to Adelaide 35 years ago, 40 years ago. So he always had a kind of base in Australia but lived in London and Greece. So anyway, he contacts me and says, he'd broken up with his, fiancée at that time. And he said, I'm coming out to Australia to see Mum. I'd really like to take you out for lunch. And then we drove to Byron Bay, and we were in the car for a long time. He had no idea it was going to be 15 hours later because England's so small. So an hour in the car, outside of traffic of London is a long way. He kept going, are we sort of close? I was like, yeah, it is close. So, we had a lot to talk about, and it was just kind of I knew at the end of that day, I thought, wow. And then we were with my girlfriend in Bangalore, and she's like, oh, I'll be a bridesmaid. And it was and she ended up reading a poem at our wedding. So it did all turn out. And 16 years, we're still married.
Did you, when you were having the times apart, did you often think of him, or was it very, did you pop into your mind?
I did think of him, actually. I did. I always just thought, oh, he's such a spunk, but he always, he was in a long-term relationship. So, I kind of came back and did my own thing in Australia, and I really didn't expect to see him. But I remember running into a mutual friend of ours in the city in Sydney, and him saying, oh, it'd be really nice. Why don't you get in contact with Chris on Facebook? That's when Facebook, was really kind of started and was big. And yeah, then he messaged me and said, oh, I'm coming out. So I didn't really worry about relationship stuff.
That's great. Oh, man, I wish I had some of that. Fuck, no. That's all I'm bloody worried
I mean,
about.
that's not to say I didn't kiss a few toads, you know.
Yeah. I mean, haven't we all?
And that's all part of it. Yeah, but I never worried about that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I read an interview when you spoke about having crippling self-doubt. Did you mind expanding on that? Was it self-doubt in terms of, because you say you felt comfortable in relationships, was that more career-wise or just within yourself?
I think so. And I think that I didn't realise how much doubt I had of myself, whether it was my strict schooling, different influences you have in your childhood, very sensitive to criticism, like sort of hypersensitive to criticism, and internalising all this stuff. And, you know, as they say, when you're a kid, you internalise everything and think, you know, they say children are narcissistic. They have to be. But what that means is that children interpret that everything's their fault. So you internalise everything. And I think that kind of came out a lot as I sort of, you know, went through teenage years and early adulthood, those doubts and that very negative voice. So those very negative views I had of myself, I believed were real, not turning in on myself, you know, very self-destructive. And so that's been a process of having that, you know, of depression, of anger. I've suffered from rage as well. I've never been able to, and most people go, you rage. It's like, yeah, like I did. I had incredible amounts and I'd use that in my work. But now I kind of go, that rage is just pain.
Did you have repressed rage? Do you mean you had repressed rage?
I think it was probably repressed anger and also societal view of women, you know, don't get angry or women don't, you know. And so internalizing everything until I think depression can come. It was also difficult times when I was living in London and no money and the weather and, you know, it's so those intense things. So there was like a reactive depression from external reactive things, but also from within, and then not being able to express anger apart from my work, and that can come out sideways as well.
Do you find when you play characters, obviously, you know, being an actor, your past experiences, they're like, you know, they help you develop layers. Is there a particular character that has stayed with you because you feel like you grew with the character?
There are probably a number of roles that I feel like it has. And I think if it's well written, then you will have a journey. I think what comes to mind, something like Wentworth, which I end up doing 40 episodes of Wentworth, so 4 seasons of that. And to have that, it was an incredible arc that the character went through. Yeah, that was an incredible experience. And I know all the other girls in Wentworth had similar experiences of the incredible arcs that we all got to play, and playing different women rather than kind of a goody two-shoe of how the women, you know, is that how women should be? It was just like such a great opportunity, and I'm so grateful that I was part of that Wentworth experience.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Try and put myself in your shoes, and as someone who I find it hard to express anger, and there's a lot inside me. When you're playing a character like Mari, where you do have to express rage quite a bit, does that scare you, or do you just kind of jump into it and let it all out?
I jump into it and let it all out, because maybe showing anger for Susie is like, well, that doesn't look good for me, but as a character, I'm willing to do anything.
That's cool.
So the character, I always found it incredibly cathartic because I could be anything I wanted. It's such a liberation to express that and express pain and sorrow, which is normally like whenever I think of bad things happening to animals is how I always connect to emotional things. And so it's a really cathartic thing.
Yeah. Oh, there's too many things that I want to ask you, Susie, because, I want to ask you about Artful Dodger because you play Lady Jane in that too, and it's just another amazing character. And I also want to ask you about animal cruelty because I know you're a huge advocate for animals. Maybe we should talk about Artful Dodger and Lady Jane. and stepping into her shoes and that world and what that was like. And also Ben Young told me to give you a big snog.
Oh my God.
Ben Young's the director.
He's so, because are you Perth?
No, but I work a lot in Perth.
Okay. I love Ben Young. I was actually really surprised I got that offer. I kept thinking someone must have pulled out, because I think a lot of time with my characters, they're kind of, I wouldn't say bogan. I don't want to sort of judge them in that way, but they're very kind of like rough and tough. It's like a really comfortable slipper to put on. They're like your house shoes that you put on. And so suddenly Lady Jane and being like posh, I was like, oh, I'm going to be found out. Like, who would believe, like, because I'm from Newcastle, and are they not going to buy it? Do you know what I mean? That I'm the posh, I'm the poshy, not sort of like the wench in the Artful Dodgers sort of slum area. So to me, that was the big challenge. But that's where that negative self-voice can come in, but you just don't let it get the better of you, and you work really hard. And I thought, well, I just learned the accent and maybe I can do this. But I was very frightened. And every day that job was, this is in the first season, was getting nearer. I'd be like, oh, it's one day closer. And just I would have great anxiety.
And how do you put on your armor to go into a set like that? Like, you know, you're feeling anxious. So what are the things that you do to make yourself ready to go on set? And
I just think you work really hard.
Yeah.
And I learned that at drama school when one of my favourite teachers, Kevin Jackson, who is no longer with us, but he used to say, if you don't do the work, you will hate your job. So you have to study just the basics of turning up on time, knowing your lines, knowing your accent, knowing the time, the period, doing all your work. So that you feel, well, at least you've done your best. That is the way through it, that I can go, well, at least but I was so nervous. And a lot of the time, like first day on set and you have your radio mic, I'm thinking, they can hear my heart. Surely they can hear my you know, you have to do the work leading up to it, like the mental and obviously all your kind of acting work as well.
how many weeks do you train with accents, or are you one that you can get it pretty quick?
Look, fingers crossed we do the third season of The Artful Dodger. I have a great teacher, Jennifer White, and also the actual production company supplies a dialect coach, but I like to be able to go, well, I'd like to spend 3 days, have 3 sessions a week on this dialect. So I do that. So I have Zoom with her 3 times a week, and the investment is well worth it.
Do you practice in the outside world? I remember when I was practicing my American accent, I'd force myself to just be American for 3 hours a day, even if I went out for a coffee. It's really scary, but it helped. I feel like it helped me. Did you do that that, or you're not that crazy?
I think with a really posh English accent, people go, that lady is weird.
Because you love animals, right?
I do love animals.
Can you tell us a bit about your work with animals?
Look, I've always loved animals from a really early age. I would always bring back animals to the house. And my mum was similar. We'd always we'd have possums in the shower recess, and we looked after a kangaroo and nursed a lizard, a big lizard, a water dragon. I think that animals I've always loved and was always so distressed when there's harm to them. So it was just a thing that I was really born with. So as time has gone by, I'm like an ambassador for World Animal Protection, Animals Asia. I donate to them, and then my own Instagram, and do what I can. I can't be on a front line for that. I don't think I'd be able to cope with that, but being an ambassador and we traveled to Thailand and looked at elephants that shouldn't be ridden and all the different companies now that are stepping that down. So I think that they often say if we think human rights move at a slow pace, animal rights move at an even slower pace. And then when you have, a society and in times of recession, a lot of that stuff gets put on the back burner because people are, worried about the price of everything. Yeah, for me, it's just about doing what I can Instagram-wise. I'm not prolific on the Instagram. I'm kind of a bit like a boundary rider on it. I kind of go and do something and then kind of run away, and then I do something and then I run away. So I'm not that great with that. But to actually go, I'd like to go to Vietnam with Animals Asia and see how the bear bile farming in Vietnam, where these beautiful bears, sun bears are in a cage their entire life. Aww. And they have like a thing hooked up to them to take the bile out, which is like a, medicine for them. They believe medicine, and that's their life. So to see the bears actually feel grass under their feet and have this incredible life you can't really quite believe that it happens. And there was one, the woman who started Animals Asia, who saw this bear in a cage and it put its hand on hers, and she was just like, she just was like, I will dedicate my life to these creatures, and she has.
Wow.
There's so many great people around the world who support. And that it's just my thing. Like people can go, oh, well, what about sick children? Yes, of course.
Nothing pisses me off more than people doing that. I don't know why it just grinds my gears so much. I'm like, I'm trying to, like, if I do something for a mental health, I'm a mental health advocate, and anytime I do something like that, they're like, yeah, but what about this? What about this big issue? And you're like, I know that's a sad issue. I don't know what to say about it. Like, I'm just trying to focus on this because this is the.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can't be everything to everyone. And I think it's that accepting that people are going to do that. Like people are trying to go, but don't you think like human lives are more important or whatever? And it's like, yes, human lives are important, but it's something within me that I've always had for the animals. The true Voiceless, and there is actually a charity called Voiceless for, intensive farming animals, and Animals Australia. I'm also a member in Sydney Dog and Cats Home. I love to donate money. Monika's Doggy Rescue. It goes on and on. You could, but yeah, it's something that at least I can say, well, I would, give money and have a voice for those things that the kind of true voiceless, vulnerable, things in our society.
One thing that I'll say about, how they say, what about this and what about that? There's always, my partner always says, he's Christian, and he always says, God places things on your heart. Like, so everyone's individual. So, people are doing their best and they're trying to spread their love the best they can. And what's on your heart is the things that you're going to champion and help support. So anyway, that's just what I think.
That's beautiful. I really like that.
I really like that as well. And I think it's completely true. And I feel that it's like why do people suddenly go, wow, I want to foster like 5 children or whatever? Like everyone has their own thing, or raising money for cancer or whatever it may be. There's always, there's always something. You can always be of service, I suppose, to others, which also helps. When we focus too much on ourselves, we're actually kind of more miserable. But when we're in service to others, they say it kind of frees us a bit more.
Yeah, I think so.
I want more things on my heart. I want God or higher power to put more things on my heart.
Well, ask away.
Yeah, ask.
And but you are a deeply compassionate, beautiful person. So
yeah, thanks.
You have a
Thank
ginormous heart.
Thanks. Yeah, but I just want some more things piled on top of that.
Put it out there. Put it out to the universe.
Put it out into the universe. Let's see it.
That's great.
What do you think of animal actors? Animals on set, and also I guess they're being replaced by AI pretty quickly as well. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, or maybe you don't even have an opinion?
Look, I think a lot of the animal trainers that I have worked with have been very respectful and loving of the animals, but it's funny, I'm always like double checking, and always there's something in me that's always like, just hear whatever, I'm always kind of alert. Yeah. To that. But I've always worked with people who have been great with animals on set. And I think AI is such a big topic, isn't it? And it's such a big sort of thing. And that could be a good thing. In some ways, if animals aren't used, they can be that. I mean, I don't know how they can replace humans as much. I don't know whether that will happen in my lifetime. Maybe in some others that actors will be replaced by AI. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how all of this unfolds. And I don't know where it's headed, quite frankly.
I wanted to ask you as well, Susie, because I DJ the horse races.
Oh, yeah.
I get asked every year to do it. I'm not educated enough to know what actually happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, look, I think I know people who go to the races too, and I think it's really hard. The more we push against things, the more pushback we get. So I think it's a way of, like, people will go to the races, or I think greyhound racing is slowly sort of getting phased out. I think in time it will eventually lessen, and as it does now. But whenever I think there are obviously some people who breed horses and love their horses, but what happens, not all horses can be put out to pasture in a nice place. And that's the greyhound thing as well. What you're saying, that they can all be rehomed. It can't. There have been mass graves found from greyhounds, as well as like live baiting, where they've put live possums and things, to train them to go faster, albeit, I've seen footage of slight little electrocution for the horses. I think it's about that domination over something just to make money. The Melbourne Cup, I've noticed, the Nup to the Cup, and so much of that it's slowly kind of getting out there. And I think a lot of the younger generation are not into it. People will go to maybe something like Melbourne Cup, people want to dress up and they're not really even care about the races, I think, a lot of them, but maybe not aware of, well, what happens when that horse can no longer, how many do get looked after? And, there are horses that are slaughtered and made into dog food, and that's the truth, I mean, these are the truths about it. But the government, they get a lot of tax, and they've powerful lobby groups behind them, and they seem to be kind of soft on this. And we all know how gambling and what the human effect it has. So it's also the human effect of gambling. I hope that answers your question about that. It's just about the use of animals to make money and to whip them and to be fast. And every bloody Melbourne Cup, throughout that carnival, a horse will fall over and break their leg, i.e. be put to death.
Yes, I remember. I used to go when I was younger, in my 20s, and I didn't, to be honest, I didn't
And
think
I
too
did
much
too,
about
by the
it.
way, so
Yeah.
don't worry about that.
And then I remember one year there was a horse that died on the track. Well, it broke its leg on the track, so we all know what happened. And then I was so sad. I was just like, this is so awful. They had to put this curtain around this beautiful horse. And then I look at Instagram and all these people are like, this is my outfit, this, and don't get me wrong, I love the outfit pic. I'm not trolling on that. But I was just like, how inappropriate. And I just felt like, how can you post your outfit when a horse just died in front of you? And I just remember then I'm like, I'm never going, never ever again. And that sort of woke me up out of that. It sort of made me realise. But I know that you do campaign for Nup to the Cup, which is great.
Yeah.
Do you get lots of pushback from people online or from
Not at all.
Oh, that's good.
I think that's one thing that a lot of people, they don't like it. A lot of people don't like the greyhound as well. I think that's a pretty safe one, that one. Look, I don't get any pushback, but I think there would be, when you kind of say a connection of your steak in the supermarket to where it actually came from, and that who are we to say that animals have no soul or they're sentient beings. People will choose what they want, and it's not for me. I'm not like, have to put my sheriff's badge away. Like, I'm not here to go, you shouldn't be eating that steak, or you shouldn't be eating that lamb, or whatever. I know that does nothing, but it's to get that idea of, if there was your cow's face on that packet, would you still eat it? It's very easy to disconnect.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
A lot of people are no email. Like I'm not. It's just my choice, and I think through maybe education and consciousness that maybe things can change in that area.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important for people just to have as much information as they can and not turn blind eyes to things, you know. That's why I like asking questions, because I admit that I don't know everything about everything. And
Of course.
so I like to get all the information and then make a decision for myself. But I'm interested to know what else you'd like to do with your magic wand, Susie. What other things would you like to
Ooh,
what's next for you?
Oh, the magic one's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to have a farm with a whole lot of animals. I think would be a great thing. To probably change laws, you know, like could you put cameras into abattoirs for the abuse of animals and to keep them on the straight and narrow? So there are obviously lots of things in that world. God, if I had a magic wand, what would I'd actually love to go back in time. I'd love to have a kind of superpower where I could go back 100 years or 200 years and 300 years and then maybe change history through that. Maybe
That's
go
cool.
back and alter. I always think that the time travel would be an interesting one.
It's such a delight to speak to.
You're so wise and smart.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not that wise, really.
You are.
You are. You're so wise.
We're the
And
judge of who we think is wise, and we think
with just one last little tidbit of wisdom from you, we ask all of our guests on the potty what cracks them up with laughter at the moment, like big belly laughs, like what really gets you going. Do you have something that really...
Look, any Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm moments really, really make me laugh. I'd say Larry David, and also I don't know whether you've seen on Instagram where they get the couples to like do a drawing of one another and they do painting. Have you? I don't know whether you've ever seen that. Oh my God, I have literally been in tears. Like the couples and like the guy always just says, "I'm so sorry," and hands over the portrait, and it's like the worst painting or drawing that anyone, and their wife or their partner just cannot stop laughing. And it's just the most joyful thing that I've seen online or on Instagram when a partner has to draw the painting and then give it to them. It's just you cannot help but cry with laughter.
that is so, I've never seen that.
No.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, if you
Sounds like
Google it, it is so worth. I don't know whether it's on Instagram or YouTube that I've seen it. I think it might have been Instagram. It was sent to me of just so many funny things that you just, it's so joyful.
That's great.
Have you and Chris done it?
No, but Chris said, I would like to do some painting. I said, you've seen those clips, haven't you? It's like, oh my God, you know, I think it would be actually a really great thing to paint your partner's portrait. It's such a cool idea. And it means that you can laugh at yourself and laugh at the other. Like it's just so funny when you see these clips. You'll love them. It's just truly joyful when you see it. Yeah.
Susie, would you like to know your future? I know you had your magic wand, but
yes,
we have a tradition where our guests have to crack open a fortune cookie and
read it out.
Read out their fortunes. They're quite accurate.
Are they? And also, I don't have my reading glasses, hopefully, but that's
what
okay.
everyone says.
Everyone said that.
Does everyone say that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's numbers.
That's what everyone says too.
Oh.
We need to get better fortune
oh my
cookies.
God, what does 1311 mean? Okay. Will you be able to read?
Yes,
So I didn't, I don't have my reading glasses.
No, that's okay. Confucius said, a devotion to public duty leaves no room for idleness.
Oh, what?
A life of service.
Wow.
We were just talking about that.
Isn't that crazy?
Just talking about that.
See?
Manifested
When you
that.
think of others, you're not thinking of yourself and your own woes. What do they say? Like your own worries like dissolve when you're concerned with other people.
That's great.
I love that.
That's a good way.
Yeah. And I think like as an actor, because we so like think of ourselves like a lot, like we are our tool. Obviously you have to think of yourself, but like not all the time maybe.
Yeah. I think that's
You know,
fantastic.
but I think that also comes with a little age as well, like as we grow.
I've loved thinking about you for the past hour or however long we've been chatting
Well, it's
for.
been a pleasure
Thank
to
you
be
so
here
much.
and to have a really relaxed, beautiful, open space. So thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for
it's our
coming
pleasure.
on.